Podcast number 1, September 27th, 2016. The Dreamscape, Genocide, and Future Plans. So to start things off, let me tell you about the Dreamscape. Oh, and I'm Adam. Thank you for stopping by aPear Library and listening to this podcast. Let me throw in some music real fast. Okay, well, other than just the name of my collective work, the Dreamscape is where I create many of the scenes present in my writing. To me, the Dreamscape is more than just a name. It's a place, an area of my mind devoted to nothing but my work. You may say, that's weird. Well, you're right. It's weird even to me. Then why go, you ask? You see, it's not like I'm controlled by it. In fact, I know that in a second I could destroy it. But that really doesn't answer your question, doesn't it? I guess the only reason I go is that I think without it, my writing would take a dramatic dip in quality. Try thinking of it as like a play in my mind. I'm somewhat conscious, reenacting basic events I planned beforehand, expanding on them, sort of like if I wanted a detailed fight scene. I would first think of the basic framework that is needed for said fight, a sword, a shield or two. Oh, and I want it set in the forest. These thoughts I have before I go into the Dreamscape. But before any of this, I must first do the walk. What's that? I hear you asking. Well, I'll try to put it into words. When planning on going to the Dreamscape, there must first come this process in my mind. I think Dreamscape, or if I have something in particular in mind, Dreamscape, hashtag whatever I want to work on. The only difference here is that when I say just Dreamscape, my mind will pick a subject at random, as opposed to something a little more structured. This is where the hashtag comes into play. By doing this, I have a clear, or not so clear path to go down. Personally, I think that some of my more creative thoughts come from when I'm just letting my thoughts take over. I like to call it sifting, watching as countless random thoughts flow by, waiting for one to catch my eye. Regardless of what path I choose, this event in my mind must always play out. There are double doors before me, opening inward. I walk across a lawn carpet, a red carpet. Everything is black, save for what the candlelight on the podium shines on. A little down the walk, I turn my head from side to side. Circular bookshelves line the walls, their curve ending at a dark window set in the far wall. A line runs under it, taking the shape of an ocean wave. White rain is on the other side of the glass, pounding against it, but there is silence, not a sound. When I finally reach the podium, there's a large book on it, bound with leather. It's simply titled with the name of whatever I happen to be writing. I pick it up and blow a thick layer of dust off the cover. Here's where things change a little. If I decide to go sifting, I'll put the book on the little shelf under the podium, taking out a blank piece of paper instead. I set that down and look towards the ceiling. It is then I enter the Dreamscape. If before I wanted to work on something particular, let's use the example of the fighting scene, I'll put the book back down and open it, letting my mind flow into the pages. Now there's one last thing about the Dreamscape, the void, the place outside the glass. Some nights when I'm really tired, it doesn't matter what I do. I'm sucked up by its darkness. I do not retain the same level of consciousness, and because of this, I rarely remember what goes on in there. Now, don't get me wrong, I can leave at any time. It's not like I'm held captive or anything, but it's a struggle. If it's a nightmare or I start acting something out something I know I couldn't do, something I wouldn't even write about, I flee. A red flag is thrown and I'm gone. But sometimes it's not that easy. Now, the only thing I can compare it to is drowning. I find myself clawing up towards full consciousness as I'm continuously pulled back down, sinking in and out. Sometimes I'll even think I've made it, when in fact I'm still under. Here's an example. One night I was clawing up, and suddenly I was in my bed, awake, or so I thought. I even got up to get a drink. Unconscious, mind you, so you can imagine my surprise when I was shot back into my bed. I had never gotten up. I have never gotten the drink. Not for real. Now, the crazy thing is, scenarios like this can be layered, forcing me to go through each one before I finally wake up. Sort of like, let's say, I got up to get the drink, and was shot back. I might, thinking I'm out of it, get up and do it again, only finding myself back in my bed. This can go on for some time, and events are not always the same either. Like, I got a drink, came back, got up again, and started writing, then being shot back again. It can sometimes become annoying. I always make it though, but sometimes it seems like forever. You'll become more acquainted with the dreamscape if you read any of my books, if and when they're available for purchase. I put my main characters through the same things, with minor variations of course. It only seems right, doesn't it? This takes me to my second point, the flagship of the Dreamscape saga, genocide. And the first question I know you're going to ask is, why haven't you been writing it? The answer is more simple than you may think. I decided to go into the future, I must first visit the past. This is where To Valley We Go comes in. It takes place a lot earlier, letting me engross in all the intricate lore hinted on in genocide. To be completely straight with you, I was beginning to fear that too much of the backstory, something so crucial to any story, because if there's no past, there's no point. You just have a bunch of people wandering around aimlessly, was being written to fit the main character. This was not the right move. There has to be something set in stone. You may say this, well, Adam, where do you start then? To that I can only say, genocide was feeling a little too advanced, if you will, taking a direction that, I'll give you this, would probably be a lot easier to write, but didn't take the story, as a whole, best interest at heart. I haven't given you much info on genocide, and for that I'm sorry. I hope the newest sections of information I posted on the website have helped a little. I am planning to put out some kind of synopsis about it before its release. Maybe even half a chapter for free or something. I don't know. All I can say is now is what I've said before. In short, it is a first-person action fantasy that takes you to a whole new world. I'll now touch on my last point, future plans. To tell you the truth, if To Valley We Go or genocide don't do well, I'll be forced to get a conventional job. Give thanks to my parents for letting me freeload while I write my future. This doesn't mean I'll stop writing. I believe it's what I was meant to do, and I won't get butthurt either if they flop. I know full well they probably will. It's not about the money. I could care less about the stuff. To me, it's the story, and the things a good one can do to inspire those who read it. Thanks for tuning to this podcast. I hope you enjoyed hearing me ramble a bit. If you want any more info on me, genocide, or anything else, please check out the rest of the site. If you still have unanswered questions, or you just want to talk, please feel free to shoot me an email via the contact page or to aPear library at protonmail.com. If you have a subject you wish me to talk about, feel free to ask via the methods I listed. I hope you'll check back soon. This has been Adam Pearson. I hope you enjoyed my first podcast. Feel free to share this, but if you do, please link it somehow to the website. Thanks again.